Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This side, Rahul Magan here. You all understand that I am having a background of finance function, whereby I dealt in a treasury function for almost 10 years. And I handled the front office piece of treasury department. And currently, I am pursuing my law and I am second year law student. And my practice area is definitely the EOW, which is Economic Offenses Wing. I already raised this concern and viewpoint many a times that law and finance are not different subjects, rather they are same subjects. The reason being, at various places of law, you have finance. Example, when the markets regulators make their law, you need finance professional. And having said that, today also, I would be starting a new phase of my life, and that phase is technically known as legal investment banking. And I shortly titled this as LIB. But before anyone take this the other meaning of LIB, let me clear one thing, that treasury consulting or myself is not entering into the business of investment banking. We are not entering the business of market making. We are not subscribing or selling any stocks. We are not doing any underwriting. Rather, what we would be doing, we would be interlinking the law with the investment banking. Many a times I made a video and I explained that there are four kind of people we have in investment banking. Number one, who are relationship people. But unfortunately, after COVID-19, there is a deep and denting risk to their profiles. In fact, almost every passing day on internet, I am finding XYZ or PQR investment banks are cutting jobs. Almost. Second kind of people are the valuation experts. They are always in great demand. Valuation experts are those people who value a relevant stock, bond, probably some private placement, or any other kind of instrument their company wish to enter. So, example, tomorrow Apple wanted to raise a bond. They would be evaluating at what price Apple should get the bonds, what should be the appropriate yield, considering the fact that Apple is a triple A rated company, it's a very strong company, a very perfect balance sheet, huge cash in the books, and not to mention a leader in technology. On the contrary, God forbid if on the same day the same investment bank get an offer from a company whose credit rating is triple B minus, then the same valuation expert would have a different forte. The third kind of people is the regulatory people. Now, regulatory people are those people who are expert in the regulatory of that relevant country. So, like I gave you an hypothetical example that Apple wanted to raise the fund. Now, if Apple wanted to raise the fund, it means the funds are raised in United States. It means the Banking Act, Security and Exchange Commission Act, and various other acts of United States will come into the picture. These regulatory experts are aware about the acts, they are aware about the case laws, and they are aware about the citations by the local or the Honorable Supreme Court of United States. So they will guide you that when Apple would be signing an agreement, which is technically known as subscription agreement or the underwriting agreement with the relevant investment bank, then this we should be adding. And when Apple would be signing the bond, basically when Apple would be launching the debenture, suppose they would be launching indenture, Indenture basically is an agreement. They would be launching an indenture, then this we should be adding because this pertains to United States. However, suppose Apple London wanted to raise the money, then the scene is completely different because you need the people who are aware about the British laws and the US laws both, because the principal company is in US while the subsidiary or maybe a step down subsidiary or any other subsidiary, say Apple London, is raising the money. It means that the British laws enter into the picture, which means at a same given point of time two laws are entering into the picture. Fourth kind of people, those who are always in demand, they design the term sheets. They design that how to do the book building, if it is a reverse book building, whom to invite, whom not to invite, and when we are inviting, how are we inviting, what should be the order of the book building, whether this order is, the order means the in the sequence, whether this order is good or the order is not good, who should be the first person, who should not be the first person. Because at the end of the day, the very important thing which an investment banker supposed to do is the book building. And if you are perfect in doing the book building, or alternatively the reverse book building, if the scenario is on other side, in this eventuality, you are perfect. Henceforth, I strongly believe that person number two, who is a valuation expert, person number three, who is a regulatory expert, and person number four, who is a term sheet expert, they are always very important for investment banks. I've been through many people in my treasury career wherein I found out that sometimes an individual personality is person number two, person number three, and person number four together. So that's really a blessings of God. But this LIB, which is legal investment banking, would be covering person number two, which is the valuation expert, person number three, which is our regulatory expert together. So please don't expect to cover the person number four, which is term sheet, because for person number four, we'll have separate videos because term sheet is a highly fundamental topic. A lot of fundamental issues are there, the financial issues are there. Henceforth, our LIB desk is not having anything for person number four. Separately is there. In this, I would be covering a very sensitive topic, and that sensitive topic is titled as equity financing agreement, which are shortly known as EFA. If you are thinking the example which I'm putting before you is the only example, then let me confirm myself that equity financing agreement is like a sea. And just having a dive, and you are thinking you can reach to the end of the sea, then I apologize. Because equity financing agreement is completely dependent on the issuer balance sheet. Like I said many times, standby letter of credit, And whenever people writing to me on the WhatsApp, I'm replying that standby letter of credit is completely dependent on the balance sheet of the party. It is a balance sheet denominated product. If your balance sheet is strong, you will get SPLC. If your balance sheet is not strong, please forget SPLC. You have to run through a product called credit enhancement. But here I'm not discussing that. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to equity financing agreement, then the example which I am putting here is equity financing via a bond route. Now, those who are not aware that bond is nothing but a debt instrument. This instrument is taken for a longer period, which means you are raising for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and sometimes more than 20 years also. In this eventuality, there is definitely an element of credit risk. We can't run away from that element of credit risk. There is an element of credit risk, which means that whenever you are raising the money for a longer period of time, that element of credit risk is there, which means because you're raising for a longer period of time, God forbid, you may bankrupt, you may sell your business, any act of God can happen, any business eventuality can happen, the markets can change. There are n number of reasons behind that. Now, that credit risk needs to be added in the pricing piece, and that credit risk element, which I'm talking, becomes more complicated when I am doing equity financing via bond route. Ladies and gentlemen, equity financing via a bond route means that you need a money, huge money, rather, that should be the right way. But unfortunately, the internal accruals, now the legal definition of internal accruals means the funding which is in your balance sheet, which is called reserves and surplus, cash and cash equivalent, any long-term or short-term investment you made, but basically your company made. That is why a short word is used called cash-rich companies, but not always you are cash-rich. Now, equity financing via a bond route means that you are raising money on the pretext of equity which you are holding of some other company. Now, let me take an example which I always taking, and God forbid if this example is a coincidence, then this is purely a coincidence. Ramlal Chole Bhature, who this example I'm often taking. Now, this company is a very big company, established in the whole India. They have offices in India, retail shops in India, Mumbai, Calcutta, Madras, Chennai, everywhere. Employed more than 5,000 people. Take it hypothetically. And their annual sales is more than 4,000 crores. Now they wanted to add more products in their kitty. They wanted to increase their presence. They wanted to enter into the world of e-commerce. Now, in this eventuality, they computed their internal mathematics, and that mathematics comes out that they need 1,000 crores for that. Now, let's assume that they are having a revenue, which is known as top line, of 4,000 crores, but the profit margin is 15%, after all, cost, electricity, and all these expenses. Now, 4,000 into 15%, which is barely 600 crore. But the mathematical estimate to enter into e-commerce and all these things is 1,000 crore, which means their internal accruals is short of the money they want. And the legal mean, and technically speaking, even if your internal accruals are there to the tune of 1,000 crore, you should not be using this recklessly. Ladies and gentlemen, God knows when the recession would come, when the depression would come, when any geopolitical conflict or anything would come. It is always advisable that internal accruals which you are holding is nothing but a safeguard in your company. Like Apple is amongst the top cash-rich companies of the globe. They are holding $250 billion of, I think, more than that of the cash in their holdings, and I'm always proud of this fact because Apple proved to the world that internal accruals matters, really, really matters. Now Ramlal Thorepature wants 1,000 crores. They go to the bond market and they found out that in a rising interest rate environment, because of the hike in interest rate by the central banks, they are asked to pay 12%. Now, Ramlal Cholapture is thinking, boss, if I'm raising 1,000 crores for a period of 10 years, like I said, bond funding is a long-term funding. It means that 1,000 crore into 10%, which is 100 crores, and 10 years means 1,000 crores, means by the time we would be paying, we would end up paying the same principal in the form of interest. It means technically we would be paying 2,000 crores. So that is really an expensive proposition. So we need to wind this, we need to wind this proposition. But there is an alternate. And that alternate, Ramlal Cholapture do not know, which is that Ramlal Cholapture invested 500 crores in some company, XYZ listed company, whatever. Today, the valuation of this 500 crore which they invested at a whatever given point of time is 1,500 crores. And Ramlal Cholapture believed that this 1,500 crores can even go to 3,000 crores. Henceforth, they do not want to wind this equity holding in XYZ company, which is listed in India.